Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinion as we go through it together. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com, where I dive deeper into all of these sectors and topics looking for potential investment opportunities for this commodity bull market. We do have a discount code that is active. It's discount. If you'd like to try it out, you can sign up for a monthly membership and get a discount on the first month, or you can use that discount coupon code for a yearly membership for a larger discount on the yearly membership. So let's dive in. Let's take a look, see what's going on. We've got the DXY here. That's where we normally start. It still looks bullish to me in an uptrend. Not much selling pressure here that occurred the past two trading sessions, and the momentum is still to the upside. So the dollar is continuing to be quite resilient and strong, and that's going to put pressure on certain sectors of the market due to the dollar. And what I mean by pressures, as currencies move up and down against each other, money flows, it directs money flows to certain areas. Right now, with the stronger dollar, it's going to direct money flows to dollar denominated assets. And other assets like emerging markets and stuff may not get the money flows like these markets will. Generally, a stronger dollar is driven by a stronger monetary policy that's backing the dollar versus other monetary policies. So the 2 year has been strong. We've been moving on up, and today we are flat. The 10 year is basically flat today, and it still has upside momentum, just like the dollar. And then the 30 year is also flat right underneath this resistance. And that does look like it's going to try to break out here at any second, potentially. We'll see if we get a reversal candlestick over the next few trading days. But right now, the 10 year also right underneath resistance. We'll see if we break. TYX TNX ratio just moving sideways. Not much action there. So not much of a tailwind behind gold, but we didn't really get any large movements in the dollar or rates or anything today. So we're kind of just floating sideways amongst all of these, I'll call it indicators or areas that I watch and monitor. TLT bond prices, yeah, they're slightly higher, but the momentum is still down for bond prices on TLT. And then the 2 and 10, the yield curve, basically sideways. The momentum is still down for an uninversion, but we are slightly higher by 0.09%. Nothing's really changed there, and we've been uninverting this curve with interest rates going up, which is a little bit different dynamic than previous markets here. Every single one, these fell with interest rates going down and people running towards bonds. This time we are uninverting with people running away from bonds and interest rates going up. Gold, we are down $6 an ounce, not a huge selling pressure day to day. And we do have some momentum that slowed down. That's why we were basically flat. And we'll see if we can get a turn here. We are above support. Everything looks okay at the moment. Looking at silver, another one where we just traded sideways. We do have a little bit of downside momentum before us, before today, I should say. But we'll see what occurs here. If there's follow through or if we get a potential turn. We've got platinum up 1.75% right underneath resistance trend line, and we'll see if we can break through that tomorrow. And then palladium's down about 1%. I do think we're going to come down to this support area, perhaps, in these small kind of selling pressure moves down here, down to this area and do a retest. GDX is down slightly. That has broken the upward pattern to the downside. So I do think we could see further downside. GDXJ, same thing, right on support, which is a long-term support area going across here. And it's not just the line, guys. You kind of have, there's a lot of support where shares get traded. So it could come down to this area that I did the squiggles in. And then SILJ is down 1.28%, and that has a very similar setup that could potentially break its channel here to the downside. So we are seeing some selling pressure in the gold and silver mining companies. XAU to gold ratio, it is pulling back some. We pulled on back 0.06 down here. We're still above the downtrend for this ratio, gold and silver mining companies versus gold, but we are at an incredibly low level. I am surprised at how low this is, and I think the dollar is having an impact to some degree recently on precious metals and also the mining companies. Crude oil down 1%. Now, this doesn't look that bad. We've got a downtrend line break here that's broken to the upside. We did a retest. We moved on up with a bullish engulfing here. We've got another bullish engulfing here. That's generally bullish. I know there's a bearish engulfing on this trend line there. The buyers and sellers are duking it out, and this could be, it's kind of right in the middle here. We've got upside momentum here. You could say that this could be a bearish piercing candlestick, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. If we get follow through to the upside, this candlestick is probably just a normal down candlestick. If we get a turn, we can see and maybe get another retest down in the 60s in the short term. Longer term, I think we're trying to break out of either direction. We'll see. I don't think we can break too much lower and be there for a long time. So if we do break to the downside, I think it will be a false breakout or false breakdown with a slingshot to the upside. A slowdown in the market, in particular, maybe China could be a cause of that, or maybe even a slowdown in America. TTF gas down 4%. It's got the momentum, and I don't see that turning anytime soon yet. I don't see any reversal candlesticks or anything like that, so momentum is still to the downside. We've got natural gas in America down slightly, down 1.7%, which is still above this trend line here that we've broken out of. So we're up, we've broken through that trend line, but we're down on the day. XOP, so yeah, you know me, XOP, we're down 2.64%. We are getting some selling pressure here. We've got the trend line in this general area going across, and we are breaking that trend line here today. We'll see if there's follow through at this support region or if we're going to get further selling pressure. If we start to break below this area here at about 129.25, or if we break into the 125 area, put it that way, we are going to make a new low. So we could see a reversal here if this breaks below 125. And that's kind of this region right in here that I'm estimating if we get a close on. OIH also seeing some selling pressure down 1.32%. We have broken this uptrend channel to the downside here. We had this nice little tried to reverse up, but it's been coming back down. So again, we'll monitor it and see what happens here. We've got Newcastle coal futures also down. That has broken its uptrend line here to the downside, and momentum is still to the downside for this. We've got a long-term base at about this region here at 115. So we could see this drop down here and try to bottom somewhere in this general region, 100, 115. But to me, this looks like we could go a little bit lower than that if this momentum picks up. We've got Sprott Physical Uranium Trust down 2.83%. We are still within this big pattern, which is a big flag pattern, which is bullish. We've got uranium futures pricing still inside of its big, we'll call it falling wedge. That looks okay. URA getting some selling pressure down 1.63%. There we are coming on down. The momentum is still to the downside for that. More selling pressure in URNM down 3%, and that's got some momentum behind it. No bottom in sight yet. And then URNJ down 2.73%, but looks like we're going to hit support-ish area at about 1950. So there's some selling pressure going on. We have broken this uptrend line here, the retest, and then the rejection back lower. Copper down slightly, but still within this big pattern. It's still holding on. COPX getting a little bit more selling pressure there, down 1.8%. And this does look like a continuation pattern here that we've broken to the downside. It's an inverted flag pattern, and we are heading lower here. Iron ore up 0.33, still holding on and looking good for a potential move higher. But as we see things start to sell off across the board, it does come into question how bullish can iron ore be if other things are moving down. Aluminum down 2%, coming off at that resistance area, pulling on back. We've got nickel up 1.5%. That actually looks pretty good. So at least we're seeing a couple of things moving higher today, not just mainly selling pressure. We were at support. We're in that general area of the support region. We'll see if it holds, but it's been selling off today, 1.5%. We're seeing a lot of inflation-sensitive things selling off today, just across the board in general. And this could head lower here in the short term. Emerging markets down slightly. The dollar didn't hurt it or help it, but it did sell off a little bit today, down 0.55%. KRE up 0.5%. This still looks good to go higher, and this deals with the small selling pressure, and those generally work their way on up. If it's going to pull back, you start to see large selling pressure candlesticks, which we don't have. TAN down 2.5%. That's also been selling down. Wow. This could go further. Lots of pressure here mounting in the Invesco Solar ETF. Lithium down slightly. Looks like there was some buying pressure throughout the day. That's why it's a green candlestick, but it still ended lower. So it gapped down, came up, but it was still a down candle or a down day. REMX down 1.5%, a little bit of momentum behind that as well. We have broken through this downtrend line here, and maybe we want to do a retest or even come back to the bottom there. That bottom is located at 36-ish dollars. Baltic Dry Index still selling off a little bit, down about 0.4%. And that does have momentum behind it, so we could see further selling pressure in the short term. We've got XHB down about 1%. And we are starting to round out and head a little bit lower here. So we do have support that's still here in this general region right where we're at. We'll see if it holds. If it doesn't hold, we very well could go lower. We could also back out a bunch here. We do have a bearish engulfing candlestick here, and we are developing a bearish engulfing candlestick on the monthly of this month now. So this could be ready to come on down or consolidate with that data that I see here. Much like this candlestick here, we had a pullback. There's this one here. This was a pullback in 2020. So we're getting that same type of information there this past couple of months. And this month here is validating that we could see a further pullback here. Russell 2000 up 0.64% today. It doesn't look too bad. It looks like we want to go higher in the Russell. The S&P 500, it was up slightly. Usually when you break out to the downside of these rising wedges, they generally fall. But we fell here, and somehow we continue to go higher and higher and higher with this. I don't know if it's the plunge protection team in there doing something, or if there's actually legit buying in the S&P 500. Tough to say, but looking at these rising wedges and breaking down and continuing to go up and then breaking down to the downside, it's a little bit weird. A little bit weird, what I'll say. But I do think this looks more bearish on the longer term. IXC, which is the NASDAQ composite, broke out of this rising wedge and it is continuing to go higher. Money continues to flow into the United States Composite Index for the NASDAQ. SMCI down 8%. And again, I think this is going to have to take some time to work its way on out sideways. We've got NVIDIA down 1.7%. Now, this looks like garbage. This looks like it wants to go lower. We've got this squeezing up in kind of in the corner, false breakout. We call it a false overthrow top. Selling pressure, retest, and then heading lower. So kind of interesting how this is set up, but the NASDAQ composite was higher today. Bitcoin continuing to go higher, a little bit of a wick at the top there, at least at this moment. It is looking good. We've broken all of these things to the upside. The bigger pattern, which is this guy here, is your breakout there. And I bet you we're pretty close to the projected move. The projected move, depending on how you put this on there, you can sometimes put it like this, somewhere around 100,000. Sometimes you can put it on top. That would put it at about 115,000. So probably somewhere in that range of where we're at, maybe slightly higher, maybe 115 or something like that. Could be a potential move for this pattern. Ethereum also up 2%. This looks pretty good. We had this big pattern here, the big flag pattern that we've broken to the upside. Your big breaking move was this day here, and we are continuing up, up, and up for Ethereum and also Bitcoin. And then MicroStrategy, it is right on resistance. It looks like, man, I thought this was going to break out, but a little bit of selling pressure there, right on support resistance. We'll see what occurs here in this. It looks to me like this could be a continuation pattern potentially, but I will say this is a heck of a lot of selling pressure in some of these big red candlesticks, which could be a topping pattern, but we'll see what occurs over the next few trading days. And then the VIX is up 6.45%, moving up a little bit for the volatility S&P 500 index. And usually when this starts to rocket higher, we get a sell-off in the S&P 500 sometimes. So it's well poised for a potential sell-off if this wants to rip it here. But that's what I've got for today. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. That's all I've got for today. So we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.